The Artemis hung in the void like a forgotten relic, its titanium hull scarred by decades of micrometeorite impacts. It orbited Proxima Centauri b, a planet that had promised humanity a new home but delivered only silence and ash. The year was 2274, and Commander Elena Voss was the last soul aboard, tethered to the ship by a fraying thread of duty. The rest of the crew, her friends, her colleagues, were gone. Some had evacuated in the last functioning shuttle. Others had vanished in the chaos of the first signal. Elena didn't know if they were alive or dead. She didn't know if Earth still existed. All she had was the Artemis, its failing systems, and the signal, a relentless, rhythmic pulse that seemed to come from the planet itself. Elena floated through the central corridor, her mag boots clanging against the grated floor. The ship's artificial gravity had failed weeks ago, and the air was thick with the metallic tang of overworked recyclers. Her suit's HUD displayed a cascade of warnings: oxygen at 18%, power reserves at 12%, radiation levels creeping upward. She ignored them. There was no time for despair. The mission had been clear when they left. Earth establish a relay station on Proxima b to guide the colony ships. The United Earth Coalition had sold it as humanity's next great leap, a chance to escape an overcrowded, overheating homeworld. But Proxima b was no Eden. Its surface was a jagged wasteland of obsidian spires and molten fissures, its atmosphere a toxic soup of sulfur and methane. The probes had lied or been tampered with. She reached the command deck, her breath fogging the inside of her helmet. The main console flickered, its holographic display stuttering with static. The signal was still there, a low hum that vibrated in her bones, like a distant drumbeat echoing through the void. It had started 47 days ago, the day their comms array began spitting gibberish. At first she'd thought it was interference from Proxima's red dwarf star, known for its violent flares. But the signal wasn't random. It had structure, patterns that shifted and evolved, defying every decryption algorithm in the Artemis's database. It wasn't human. It wasn't even terrestrial. "Voss to command," she said into her comms, her voice steady despite the knot in her chest. "Day 47, 0917 ship time. No response from Earth. Signal strength increasing by 0.3% per hour. I'm attempting to isolate the source." Her fingers danced over the console, pulling up a spectral analysis. The signal's frequency was cycling through bands, no human technology used, ultra-low, frequencies that seemed to resonate with the ship's hull, the planet's core, maybe even her own nervous system. She'd spent weeks studying it, cross-referencing it with every known language, code, and natural phenomenon. The patterns were fractal, self-replicating, but they weren't static. They were learning, adapting to her attempts to decode them. Yesterday, she'd isolated a fragment that resembled a mathematical proof, only to have it dissolve into chaos when she tried to pin it down. A sudden jolt rocked the ship. Alarms blared, red lights pulsing across the deck. Elena grabbed the console to steady herself as the Artemis groaned, its frame shuddering under an unseen force. The external sensors lit up, showing a surge of electromagnetic energy from the planet's surface. The signal's amplitude spiked, flooding the ship's systems with data. Her helmet's HUD flickered, then displayed a single word in blocky, pixelated text: "Listen." She froze. That wasn't her interface. The Artemis didn't have a protocol for single-word outputs. Her heart pounded as she tapped the console, trying to reset the system. The word vanished, replaced by a stream of symbols spiraling, fractal-like glyphs that pulsed in time with the signal. The hum in her bones grew louder, more insistent, like a voice whispering just beyond comprehension. It wasn't just a signal. It was alive. "Enough," she muttered, slamming her fist against the console. She wasn't imagining this. Something was out there and it was reaching for her. Elena rerouted power to the deep space transmitter, a desperate bid to contact Earth. The Artemis was falling apart. Life, support was on its last legs, and the fusion core was flirting with critical failure. But the transmitter might still work. If Earth was listening, they'd hear her. If not, maybe the signal would reach someone or something else. She recorded a message, her voice steady despite the tremor in her hands. "This is Commander Elena Voss, UEC Artemis. We've encountered an anomalous signal, originating from Proxima Centauri. It's intelligent, possibly hostile. Crew status unknown. Request immediate extraction. Coordinates attached." She hit send and the transmitter hummed to life. For a moment she felt a flicker of hope. Then the lights dimmed and the console went dark. The signal surged again, louder, sharper, like a scream in her skull. Her HUD flickered back on, displaying a new message. You are heard. The ship shuddered violently and Elena's boots lost their grip. She floated upward, crashing into the ceiling as the Artemis spun out of control. Through the viewport, she saw the planet's surface glowing. A lattice of blue-white light pulsing in time with the signal. It wasn't a planet anymore, it was a beacon, a machine, a mind. The light formed patterns, vast and intricate, like neural pathways spanning continents. She stared, mesmerized, as the pattern shifted, coalescing into something that looked almost like a face. Inhuman. Vast and ancient, her training kicked in. She scrambled to the navigation controls, fighting to stabilize the ship. The signal was everywhere now, infiltrating the systems, rewriting code faster than she could counter. The Artemis wasn't hers anymore. It was part of something larger, something that had been waiting in the dark for eons. She tried to access the ship's logs, hoping to find a clue, anything to explain what was happening. The logs were corrupted, but fragments remained. Reports of crew members hearing voices, seeing shapes in the shadows, dreams of endless labyrinths. One entry from her second-in-command, Lieutenant Rao, stood out. It's not a signal. It's a call. It knows we're here. Another jolt hit the ship and the viewport cracked, a spiderweb of fractures spreading across the reinforced glass. Elena's HUD screamed warnings, hull integrity at 43%, oxygen at 15%. She floated to the engineering panel, bypassing the corrupted mainframe to manually override the thrusters. If she could break orbit, maybe she could escape the signal's reach. Her hands moved on instinct, rerouting power, bypassing fried circuits. The thrusters fired, a weak sputter, but enough to shift the Artemis's trajectory. The signal didn't like that. The hum became a roar, a cacophony that made her teeth ache. Her HUD displayed another message. Stay. The ship's systems began shutting down. One by one, life support, navigation, comms. The console sparked and a faint smell of burning plastic filled the air. Elena cursed, slamming her fist against the panel. She wasn't going to die like this, alone in the dark, puppeted by some alien intelligence. She suited up fully, sealing her helmet and checking her oxygen reserves. If the ship was lost, she'd take her chances in the escape pod. It was a long shot. Proxima was 4.2 light-years from Earth, and the pod signal wouldn't reach anyone for years. But it was better than surrendering. She made her way to the pod bay, moving through darkened corridors lit only by the faint glow of emergency lights. The ship groaned around her as if protesting her escape. At the pod bay, she found the last pod intact, its hatch sealed. She climbed inside, strapping herself into the pilot's seat. The pod's systems were offline, but she could jumpstart them with a manual override. As she worked, the signal pulsed again, and the pod's small display flickered to life. This time the message was longer. You cannot leave. We are one. Elena's hands paused. We, she whispered. The signal was no longer just a pulse, it was a conversation. Whatever was down there, on or beyond Proxima B, it saw her not as an intruder but as part of itself. The thought sent a chill through her. She thought of the crew, their disappearances, their dreams. Had they been taken, absorbed? Or were they still out there, part of the lattice of light she'd seen on the planet's surface? She shook her head, forcing herself to focus. The pod's systems hummed as she bypassed the last lockout. The hatch sealed and the launch sequence began. The Artemis shuddered one final time, its hull groaning as if in pain. Through the pod's tiny viewport, Elena saw the planet's surface glowing brighter, the lattice of light now a blinding web that seemed to stretch into the stars themselves. The signal roared in her ears, a chorus of voices, thousands, millions speaking in unison, join us. The pod launched, rocketing away from the Artemis. The ship dwindled behind her, a dying speck against the glowing planet. Elena's HUD flickered, displaying one final message. Come. The pod's sensors picked up a new surge of energy, not from the planet but from the pod itself. The signal was inside, embedded in the systems, in her suit, maybe in her. She checked the pod's trajectory, away from Proxima B toward deep space. But the stars ahead seemed wrong, their positions shifting, as if the void itself was bending. Elena leaned back, her breath shallow. The signal was still there, fainter now but persistent, a whisper in her mind. She thought of Earth, of the colony ships that might never come, of the crew she'd lost. Had they resisted, or had they answered the call? She didn't know. All she knew was that she was alone, hurtling into the unknown, with a signal that wasn't just a message, but a promise, or a threat. The pod's display flickered again, showing a new set of coordinates, not Earth's. They pointed deeper into the galaxy, toward a star she didn't recognize. The signal pulsed, soft and insistent, like a heartbeat. Elena stared at the coordinates, her finger hovering over the navigation controls. She could fight it, try to find Earth, or she could follow the call, see where it led. The stars stretched out before her, endless and cold. She made her choice.